Hey, what's up everybody? Clifton here, Clifton WP. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to align buttons or content inside of your query loops that you've built with Kadence blocks to the bottom of the sections within that query loop. Now, this is a follow-up to a tutorial that I did a few weeks ago where I gave a few examples and showed a strategy to be able to align content inside of sections that are within rows where the content were of varying lengths. And if you wanted that uniform look where all the buttons aligned to the bottom of the section containers, then I showed multiple ways to be able to do that in Kadence. But one example that I didn't include is a way to do it with the query loops, especially if it's a query loop that you've built with Kadence blocks query loop feature. So what I'm going to do in this tutorial is I'm going to go over how to be able to do that inside of a query loop that you've built with Kadence blocks, so that now you have the full breadth of how to be able to align items to the bottom of your sections that you've built inside of a query loop. So if you are ready to learn how to align items to the bottom of your sections built inside of a Kadence query loop, then let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, so here we are with a fresh install of WordPress, and what you're looking at here is the default 2025 theme that comes when you install WordPress for the first time. Let's go ahead and install the Kadence theme and Kadence blocks. And what I want to do is I want to show you an example of aligning your elements to the bottom, or aligning a button or buttons to the bottom when you have varying lengths of content inside of a section inside of a row. So to go ahead and install the Kadence theme, let's go ahead and navigate to the dashboard. Just go ahead and click on the name of your website here in the admin toolbar. Select dashboard. We're going to go to appearance, themes, click on add theme. And we're going to add the Kadence theme. Now, Kadence is a pretty popular theme, so you'll see it over here. But in the event that you don't see it when you click on add theme, just go to the search themes search bar here and go ahead and type in the word Kadence, and you'll see the Kadence theme right here. Let's go ahead and click on install and activate. Okay, so now we have the Kadence theme installed. Next, let's go ahead and install Kadence blocks. To do that, we're going to navigate over to plugins, click on add plugin, and we're going to do a search for Kadence blocks. You'll see the Kadence blocks right here. Click on install now and activate. Okay, so now we have Kadence blocks installed, and Kadence blocks is essentially going to give our website page builder features so we can build out our pages and posts inside of the Kadence theme. So if we navigate to the front end of the website now, we should see that we now have the Kadence theme installed, and now we're ready to go ahead and start building out our pages. Okay, next let's go ahead and set up a page. I'm going to come over here to the dashboard. We're going to click on pages, add page, and we're going to go ahead and set this page up. So let's just call this page, we'll say align bottom. And then over here on the right hand side are the page settings. And to access the Kadence page settings, just go ahead and click on this page settings icon. And from here, we're going to go ahead and set the page title to be disabled. We want the page layout to be full width, so we have the full width of the page to be able to build out our sections here. And then the content style will be unboxed. Content vertical spacing will be disabled. And we don't really have a need for the header or the footer for this particular tutorial, so let's just go ahead and disable those as well. I'm going to go ahead and publish this page. And now when we view the page on the front end, you'll see over here that we have a nice blank canvas to be able to build on. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and set this to be the home page for our tutorial site here, so that we're always coming here whenever we visit this site. So I'm going to come back here to the dashboard. Let's go to settings. Let's go to reading. And here where it says your home page displays, let's click the radio button for a static page. And the home page is going to be the aligned bottom page. Let's go ahead and save those changes. And now when we visit the front end of the website, we should see that page. Okay, so now we're ready to go ahead and start building out our sections. To do that, go ahead and navigate to edit page, and we're going to insert a row block. So the Kadence blocks are accessible by this plus sign over here with the blue background. So if you click on this, you'll see all of the page building blocks that come with Kadence blocks, as well as the default Gutenberg blocks that come with WordPress. You can use them in combination, or you can choose to strictly use just the Kadence blocks. I like to use the Kadence blocks. Kadence has enough blocks for me to basically build out any kind of website or web page that I want. And my favorite block from Kadence are the container blocks, which is the row layout block and the section block. And these are the blocks that we're going to be working with today. So let's go ahead and add a row layout block here. And I'm going to select that I want a 3-column row layout. I can go ahead and close the block inserter. I'm going to select the block here, and I'm going to go ahead and set the inner content width to be the same as the default for the theme, which is 1290 pixels. So to do that, you can actually click on the short menu that appears here, or you can also go to the layout options that's here, and you can toggle the content max width toggle over here. And that's going to go ahead and center those columns for you nicely in the middle. Okay, let's go ahead and give it some space. So I can just visually drag the padding on the inside here. And then next, what I want to do is go ahead and add some default content to this. So let's just add some very simple content. I'm going to add an image, some text, and a button to this. Okay, so I'm going to click on the plus sign here in the first section and just type the words image. I want to use the image block from Kadence, and you'll see that here. It's going to be the blue Kadence image block. Let's go ahead and select it. Click on select image. I'm going to go over here to pixels, and we're just going to choose any image. So it doesn't really matter. This is just for demonstration purposes. So let's go ahead and choose this one on download image, and then we'll click on select. And now we have the image in place. Next, while the image is selected, I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis here in the short menu, and then I'm going to click on add after. That's going to give me a new block line, and this time I'm going to use a shortcut for accessing the blocks. I'm going to go ahead and type a /, and I want a text block this time. So I'm going to type the words text, and I'm going to select the text block from Kadence. Okay. I'm going to change the designation from an H2 tag. We're just going to go ahead and make this a paragraph tag. That way it looks more like normal text. And I'm going to go ahead and paste some placeholder text in there. Okay, there's our text. Next, I'm going to hit the enter key for a new block line. Type a /. I'm going to type the words button because I want a button for us here. And we're going to select the Kadence buttons block. And we'll call this button our button. Okay, so now we have an image, we have some text, and we have the button here as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and align this button to the left. So just select the button block here, and in the alignment options here in the short menu, or you can also do it here in the general menu here, just go ahead and select that you want to justify the button to the left. Okay. The next thing that I want to do is I want to create some separation within this section so that you can clearly see the section and the content within it. So to do that, let's go ahead and open up list view by clicking the document overview icon here at the very top. And I'm going to go ahead and select the section that we just added content to. I'm going to move over to the right. We'll go to style. I'm going to go to background color under the style, and let's just select a nice light color that will allow us to be able to see the content. Okay. Then I'm also going to add some padding around everything. So I'm going to click on advanced. And here where we have padding, I'm going to go ahead and unify the sides here. And then I'm just going to add some small padding like that. Okay, so now we have a nice little section with some content inside of it. And now we just need to duplicate everything that we've done here to the other sections. And there's a very easy way to do this. All you need to do is open up your list view, go to that first section, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up the section. I'm going to select the image, hold down my shift key, select the last block, which is going to be the buttons. And now that I have it all selected, I can either click on the vertical ellipsis here in the unified menu and click on copy, or I can press Command C on my computer or Control C if you're using a PC. I'm using a Mac. And once you click on copy, it's going to copy those 3 blocks. Next, click on the plus sign in the adjacent section here. We're going to select the paragraph block, and then just go ahead and press Command V or Control V if you're using a PC, Command V if you're using a Mac. And now we have all the same blocks. Let's repeat that for the third section here. Add a paragraph block and go ahead and paste in those blocks. Next, I want them to have the same styling. So to do that, just go ahead and select the first section that has the styling. And here in the short menu, you're going to see the copy paste styles icon. Just go ahead and click on it. Click on copy styles. Then if you move out back to the list view, select the second section. So I have that selected. You can then hold down your shift key, select the second section, and now you have both sections selected. We're going to move over to the short menu here that appears, which is directed for both sections now. I'm going to go ahead and click on the copy paste styles icon, and this time I'm going to go ahead and click on paste styles. And just like that, we now have the same identical content in all three sections. Let's go ahead and close list view and take a look at this. So right now, with the way we have this set up, everything is aligned beautifully. It's the same amount of content, same height and width for all the images. So at this point, we're not seeing that misalignment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and misalign this a little bit. So I'm going to select just a little bit of content here, and I'm going to add it at the very bottom. It's going to push everything down here. And then let's do that again for the third section here. And this time I'll make this even longer. Okay, so now we have this misalignment. Okay, so what we want to accomplish is we want that no matter how much content is inside of the section, that the buttons are all aligned in the same plane, and that also the sections themselves are all aligned uniformly. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so to get our layout ready for the alignment, let's go ahead and select that row layout. So I'm going to click here to select the row layout. You can open this up in list view as well and select the row from here as well. If you open up this row layout, you'll see the three sections on the inside. So now that I have the row layout selected, I'm going to move over to the right, go to advanced, and under the advanced tab, you're going to find the inner column height 100% toggle. You want to go ahead and toggle this on. When you do that, it's going to make all of the sections the same height. It'll make them all the height of the tallest section so that everything is aligned and uniform now as far as the sections are concerned. Now the next thing we need to do is go ahead and align the buttons so that all the buttons are in the same plane. Okay, so to do that, we want to work with our section first. So you want to select the first section, move over here to the right. And there's a couple of ways to do this, but let's just do this the simplest way. You're going to select the section, move over to the right, and here we're under the general tab, you'll see the vertical alignment. Let's go ahead and align that vertical alignment to the top. So just select the first vertical alignment option, which aligns everything to the top. Then the next step is to select the element or select the button container that we want to align to the bottom. Okay, so let's go ahead and select the button, and let's make sure we're selecting this button container itself. If you open this up in list view, the way the Kadence button works is that there is a button container, and then inside of it is a button, and that's because you can actually have multiple buttons inside of this one container. Okay, so we want to make sure we're selecting the parent container for the button. Okay, so with that container selected, I'm going to move over to the right, go to advanced, and here where we have the margin, okay, we want to set this margin top to auto. To do that, just click in the top field for the margin and then select the auto button. When you do that, you'll notice that the button will take up the rest of the space that's within this section. Okay, so now it's aligned to the bottom. Now we can do the same thing on this side, right? We can select a section, move over to the right, select the vertical alignment under the general tab, make its vertical alignment to the top. Then we're going to select the button, move over to the settings here, click on the advanced tab for the button, click on the top field and set that to auto. It's going to go ahead and align that to the bottom there. Okay, and then we can also do that for this section as well, so that no matter how much content is being added to these sections, everything aligns correctly. Okay, so what if we add more text here just to test this out? Okay, so if I go ahead and grab some more content and we add it, notice that no matter how much content I add, the buttons stay in the same alignment here. Okay, and that's how you align to the bottom. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do this is if we go ahead and just reset everything. So I'm going to go ahead and select this button here, and let's just remove all the autos from it. Let's remove this one too. Okay, so if we reset everything here, and it's all kind of staggered like this. Another way to be able to accomplish the same thing is to go ahead and encase some of the elements inside of a section and then use the flex properties of the section. Okay, so let me demonstrate how to do that, and then we'll move on to the query loop. So I'm going to go ahead and select in the first section here, I'm going to select the image, and in the short menu, I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add before, type a /, and I'm going to add a section. So this section is going to be a container that's going to contain every block other than the button. Okay, so I'm going to select the image, hold down my shift key, select the text, and then I'm going to drag it right into that section. Okay, so now that I have done that, notice that the button is now very close to the section. This is technically considered its own block now, its own group of blocks, and the button is separate from that. Okay, if I open this up in list view, open up that section, you'll see there's a section here, and then there's the button. Now by doing this, you can still implement the same strategy, meaning I can click on the section here, move over to the right, make sure that the vertical alignment is selected, because if you don't select that, even though we select the button, go to advanced, click on the top field here in the margin and set that to auto, nothing will happen. Okay, so let's reset this. But if I select a section, turn on the vertical alignment here, go to advanced, and here, select the button, go to advanced, and then select the top field for the button, set that to auto, it behaves in the similar way. Okay, now, but what if I don't want to do that? Okay, let's go ahead and just reset this auto so that everything's back. We'll select the section, and I'm going to turn off the vertical alignment. Okay, so I have the image and the text inside of its own section, and I have the button out here by itself inside of the parent section. But what if I still want to have that same effect? Well, the way you would do that is if you'd select the parent section, move over to the right. Here in the vertical alignment, we're going to select the space between option. What that's going to do is going to push the elements away from each other towards the edges of the section, plus any padding. So if I go ahead and select space between, now my button is aligned to the bottom again. Okay, and the only difference between this and the other way is that in this case you do have that extra wrapper containing the text and the image, and this could be useful if you're trying to create a very unique type of layout. Maybe you want the image to be spread out to the edges, and you want this content to be styled differently. Then you could do it this way. So just another way of doing it and accomplishing the same thing. Okay, and if you wanted that for the rest of the sections here, you would just have to repeat that. So essentially, you would come here, click on the vertical ellipsis, add before, and we would say add a section as a container, select the image, hold down the shift key, select the text, drag it into that section container there. And then from here, what I would do is just click on the section, move over to the right, and click on the vertical alignment space between. Okay, and you'll see that it still aligns correctly. Okay, let's do it one more time just so that you can see the process here. Select the image, vertical ellipsis, add before, / add a section. Section is going to contain our image and our text. We'll just go ahead and drag it in there. Okay, and then I'm going to select the section itself, and I'll change this vertical alignment to the space between alignment. And now everything is uniform. Now, of course, this is meeting up with that outside of that section because it's inside of a section. But we can also add some spacing between that. Okay, so I can go ahead and select, open this up, grab my section here, grab the section that contains the image and the text, and we can add a little bit of margin here. Okay, and everything else still works out the same. And you'll see that increasing content in any one of the sections still maintains alignment of the buttons to the bottom of the section. Okay. All right. So now that we've seen the quick overview of aligning your buttons to the bottom of the sections instead of a row, let's go ahead and take a look at applying this to a query loop. Okay. So let's start with answering the question of what is a query loop. If you've ever looked at a blog, as an example, you are looking at a query loop. And essentially what that is just an organization of content on a page based on some instructions that tells the WordPress database to go ahead and display content on the page in a certain manner. So in this case, it's displaying this blog as a grid, and each element in the blog is being called from the database and displayed in this way. So it's showing that it's a 3-column layout, and each column has a specific blog post, and then each blog post is comprised of an image. It's comprised of the category for that blog post. Then there's the title. Then you have the author, and then you have the date, which is considered the meta information. There's an excerpt, and then there's a link to read more. Then it continues to loop through this, repeating each piece of content the same way until it runs out. And then once it runs out, it stops. And if there was more, then it would continue to do that. So this is essentially a loop. You also see the same thing if you're looking at a store, right? So this is a products loop. And what the products loop is showing is saying, hey, show the product image, so the name of the product, the price, and then in the times when there is a variation, show select options. If there's no variation, then this will actually show buy now, right? So, and it will loop through in the database and continue to display this on the page until it runs out. That is a query loop, and you can do this with custom post types or different types of content. And what Kadence allows you to do is to be able to create your own query loops in addition to the existing ones that are on the website. Now, in order for you to utilize the query loop feature in Kadence Blocks, you will need Kadence Blocks Pro. So in your account, you'll need to go ahead and download Kadence Blocks Pro, which is part of the Ultimate version or the Essentials option in Kadence in order for this to work. Okay, so let's go back to our site here, and we're going to go to the dashboard. I'm going to go to plugins, and I'm going to add my Kadence Blocks Pro plugin. So click on Add Plugin, Upload, and we'll go ahead and drop in our Kadence Blocks Pro plugin. Once it's installed, we'll click on Activate, and now it's activated. Now, to save us some time, I'm going to go ahead and just install a starter template so we can work with some existing blog posts. So I'm going to click on the Install AI Starter Templates, which shows up whenever you install the Kadence theme. Now, if you're not seeing this, you can go to Add Plugin, do a search for Starter Templates, and you'll see the Starter Templates here. And you can go ahead and install this and activate it. It does the exact same thing as what you see here on the banner. So you can click on Install Now and Activate. Awesome. Now, once it's activated, you can go to Site Assist, click on Starter Templates, or here in the Plugins menu, you can click on View Template Library. So I'm just going to go up here, click on Starter Templates. It's going to take me right to it. I'm going to select that I want the pre-designed templates. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and select one of these templates. Let's use the barbecue one, this one. Okay, so I like this one because it has blog posts. So we'll utilize this one. Click on Next, Next again, and then Finish and Launch. Okay, so our starter template has been successfully installed. If we click on See My Site, we will see the new website. And we're doing this because we just want access to this blog content so we can create our own query loop. Now, to create your query loop, you can go to the dashboard. And in the side menu, you'll see the Kadence menu item. And if you hover over it, you'll see now that because you have Kadence Blocks Pro installed, you now have access to queries and query cards, right? Okay, so now we can go ahead and create some query loops. So let's go ahead and create our custom query loop, and then we'll set it up so that we can then go ahead and style it to align the content properly inside of the query loop. Okay, so let's go ahead and navigate to the front end of the website. And what we're going to do is we're going to add our query loop to the home page. And we're going to add it right above this Join Us section. We're going to add a blog query loop to it. So from here, I'm going to click on Edit Page in the admin toolbar. Once in the editor, we're going to go ahead and scroll down, click on that Join Us section, and then we're going to click on the vertical ellipsis, click on Add Before. I'm going to type a / and we're going to add a row layout. We're going to choose a single column row layout, I'm going to add some padding to the top. So we'll do a 3x large padding on top and 3x large padding on the bottom. Next, I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to add a text block, and we'll call this the latest from the blog. We'll go ahead and center this text, and then I'm going to hit the enter key for a new block line. I'm going to do a /. We're going to add a section, and I'm going to go ahead and narrow this section a little bit here. So I'm going to look over here to the right. Under the general tab, you're going to see the content max width for this section. And let's just go ahead and set this to 1200 pixels. Okay, just give us a nice centering for that section. Okay, now I'm ready to add my query loop. So I'm going to click on the plus sign inside of that section, and I'm going to type in the search bar query loop. And you're going to see two of them. One of them is the default from WordPress, the default Gutenberg one. And the other one is the one from Kadence Blocks Pro. This is the one that you want because it has way more options and it's much easier to customize. So I'm going to go ahead and select the query loop from Kadence Blocks. I'm going to click on Create New. It's going to present you with some initial layouts. So you can have layouts with filters and no filters and so on. But because we want to have full control over our design, we're going to go ahead and skip this. So click on Skip to be able to build yours from scratch. Okay, we're going to give it a name. Let's call it the home page blog query loop. The post types that we want are going to be the blog posts, and the query loop description, let's just give it the same name as the name of the query loop. Click on create. Next is to create the query loop card, which is going to be those blog post excerpts that you typically see on your archive pages or your blog pages. Okay, let's go ahead and click on create new. And again, we're going to be presented with initial layouts, but we want full control over the design. So we're going to go ahead and skip to be able to build our layout from scratch. And we're going to give this a name, home page blog query loop card. Okay, and let's give it the same name for the description. Click on create. Okay, so here's our bare bones query loop. It has a title, a date, an excerpt, and a link to be able to read more. Now we can get into the styling for our query loop. Okay, to style your query loop, let's go ahead and open this up in list view. And if we look at the query loop block itself here, you'll see that there's the query loop container. You have the query card, and if you open up the query card, you'll see the elements contained within that query card. So it has default title, date, and excerpt from Gutenberg, but we want to use the Kadence Blocks versions of these instead. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the title block here. I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, and I'm going to click on add before to give me a new block line inside of the card. I'm going to type /, and then I'm going to create a section, and this section is going to contain all the elements for my query loop. Okay, so I can now go ahead and delete this title, date, and excerpt. So I'm just going to select the title, hold down the shift key, grab the excerpt, and hit delete. Okay. All right, now I want to go ahead and start adding my elements here. So I'm going to click on the plus sign, and the first thing I want to add is the image for the blog. So I have the image block here from Kadence. Let's go ahead and select that. Now, because I have Kadence Blocks Pro installed, I now have access to the dynamic content feature of the blocks, which means I can now use dynamic content within my blocks. So now that I have the image added, if you look over here to the right, you'll see over here the dynamic content icon. Just go ahead and click on that, and we're going to enable the dynamic image, and then click on the dynamic content icon again, and the image we want to use is the featured image for each blog post. And you can see how that pulls that in. Okay, I'm going to come over here to the advanced styling here, and I'm going to go ahead and zero out because I know it does come with some default margin there. Let's just zero out that margin. And then next I want to add a title, and I also want to add a button to this as well. So with the image still selected, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, type a /. We're going to search for the text block from Kadence. And for this title, again, we're going to select the dynamic content icon here in the short menu, enable dynamic content, and then the content we want is going to be the post title. Okay, so we can see the post title here. Move over here to the right for the styling. Let's set that to a large style so it's not so big. And then let's give it a line height here of 2 rems. Okay, all right, so that looks pretty good. Next, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I zero out or reduce the margin on the top and bottom of this. So still with the text block selected, go to the advanced tab, go to the top margin. Let's go ahead and reduce that to just maybe a extra small. And then the bottom margin, let's also make that extra small as well. Okay. Now I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, type a /, and we're going to search for button. We want the Kadence blocks button. We'll give it a label of read more. And then let's go ahead and align this to the left. Okay. And then I also want to make sure this links to the blog post, right? So I'm going to select the button, move over to the right, click on the dynamic content icon and the button link, enable dynamic link. And then the link itself is going to link to, we want the post URL as the link. Okay. We also want to do this for the title as well. So let's go ahead and select the title again, move over to the right, go to the general tab, and here where it says link settings, go ahead and open that. Change the link style to none, and then click on the dynamic content link, enable it. And here we want the post URL as well. All right, so now it's looking pretty good. Now let's go ahead and just style the query loop itself. So I'm going to move over here to the list view, and I'm going to select the query loop block itself. So the topmost parent block, and then underneath that is the query card. Okay, so now at the query loop, what I want to configure here is the number of blog posts that appears. So when you select the query loop, if you look over to the right, you'll see the settings for this query loop. And if we scroll down, you'll see over here the results per page. By default, it pulls 10. So let's go ahead and reduce this to 6. Next, I'm going to select the query card itself. And what I want to do is I want to create some spacing between the rows of blog posts. Okay, and the spacing that I want is going to be medium row gap. Okay, it's going to create some spacing here for us. All right, so now this is looking pretty good. Next, we're going to go ahead and select the section inside of the query card. Now remember, we added this section here. And the reason we added this is because we want to have control over the design. So I'm going to select the section container. I'm going to move over to the right, go to the style, come over here to the border styles, and I'm going to give it a 1 pixel border. And the color is going to be something light. So let's just make this a really light gray. Next, let's go ahead and add some padding so that the content isn't so flush to the sides of the section. I'm going to select the section, move over to the right, go to advanced, unify the size of the padding, and let's just give it a really nice amount of padding here. So medium is just right. Okay. Okay, great. So now if we look at this, we can see that we have some misalignment happening here, right? So for the titles that are a little bit longer or taller than the others, it's pushing the content down and then creating some gaps between the sections here, and also misalignments between the buttons as well. Okay, so this is what we want. So now we can go ahead and fix this. But first, let's just go ahead and save our work, and let's view it on the front end to be sure that we're looking at a true view of the query loop. Okay, so here is the view of the query loop, and we can see here where we have this one blog post where the title is longer than all the others and wraps to 3 lines. We can see here that it's creating some break in our layout. So let's go ahead and fix that. Let's navigate back to the editor, click on edit page in the admin toolbar, and let's scroll down to our query loop, which is over here. So the key here, let's open this up in list view. The key is really the section that is inside of the query card. Okay, so remember when we created this, we added our own section and then added our own elements inside of it. And your settings of the section is going to determine how the elements inside of that section behave. So as long as you have this section, then we can go ahead and configure this any way that we want. So I'm going to select the section here, and we're just going to follow the same steps. The first thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and set a vertical alignment. To do that, select the section that contains all of your elements, move over to the right, and then under the vertical alignment, let's go ahead and set this to a top vertical alignment. Okay. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to the advanced tab. Now, this is the key thing that you need to do inside of your query loop. Because we don't have the benefit of the row layout column equalizing the heights of the section, then let's go ahead and actually add a minimum height to the section itself. This is what's going to allow us to communicate to the elements on whether or not to take up the remaining space. Okay, so under the advanced tab in the structure settings for the section that contains the elements of your query card here, you want to set a minimum height to the tallest height that it can go. And usually I go with the tallest card that I can see here. Okay, so that would be this one. And I'm looking at it, it's about 480 pixels. So let's go ahead and add a minimum height of 480 pixels to that section. Okay, now notice that once we did that, all the other sections have now aligned correctly. Okay, this will now give us the ability to be able to communicate to this button to go ahead and align to the bottom. Okay, so now I can select the button container here, move over to the right, go to advanced, click on the margin top field, and I can go ahead and set this to auto, and you'll notice that the button immediately aligns to the bottom. Okay, same as the other ones here. Okay, and that's how you can go ahead and align elements inside of your query loop to the bottom, is by making sure that you're using a section, that you're setting that section to a vertical alignment of some sort, and that under the advanced tab that you have set a minimum height that is equal or taller to whichever one of the cards is causing the misalignment. Okay, now once you've done that, when we view this on the front end, you'll see now that everything looks aligned and uniform. Okay, and even if you add more elements, everything will continue to look uniform. Okay, and with that, that will conclude this tutorial on how to align your buttons and other elements inside of your query loops to the bottom of the query cards. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please go ahead and smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, I'd like to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and remember to hit that notification bell so that you're notified every time I release new tutorials like this one. And especially if you like detailed tutorials that are step-by-step on WordPress and Kadence. For those of you who are already subscribed, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you for watching the video. Please feel free to ask any questions you have in the comment section below, and also feel free to share this tutorial with anyone who you think it would benefit. Thank you once again, and until next time, I'll see you in the next video.